So today, I want to give you a list of the top 14 highest rated visual novels of all time. Which ones are the best of the best and clear standouts among them all. Starting with number 14, we have a fan favorite that started one of the biggest franchises in the anime sphere to date. Ranking at number 14, Fate Stay Night. If you are unaware of the Fate series, Fate Stay Night depicts a battle of epic proportions. An all-out battle royale between 7 mages and their summoned servants, heroic spirits from ancient history and myth, fighting for a chance to obtain the Holy Grail, a magical artifact that will make any wish come true. Unfortunately, Shiro Emiya, one ordinary high school student, stumbles upon this war on accident and gets attacked by a servant, but just as he's about to get killed, he's somehow able to summon his own servant to fight and survive. There is a huge cast of characters in Fate Stay Night, all with their unique personalities, motivations, and backstories. As these characters meet, they become attracted or opposed to one another. Everyone has their own reasons for fighting in this war, whether it's to redeem one's past mistakes, to grant a lifelong wish of theirs, or to simply fight. This combination of historical figures paired with modern-day magicians sets the stage for fierce interactions among its complex characters, interests align or not. And all of this is set in a very meticulously constructed world, blending elements of mythology, history, and modern-day society. The amount of lore and world building the author, Kinoko Nasu, has developed has become the fundamental backbone behind every work he's created, and the world of Fate continues to further expand through its large catalog of spin-off media. Of course, while the premise is a glorified battle between legendary figures from history, Fate Stay Night also explores and dives deep into the value of one's ideals and the nature of heroism. Fate Stay Night has such a large and dedicated fan base, and it's worth seeing where the magic all happened. It's the title that made Type Moon into the behemoth of a multimedia franchise it is today. You might be surprised that such a title is only 14th on this list. Well, you might want to keep watching, as while these next titles might not reach the immense popularity as Fate Stay Night, these titles equally match or even surpass it in quality. Next on the list is a well-renowned title in Japan for its profound writing and artistry, winning grand prize awards for its scenario, music, and overall category. Ranking at number 13, Sakura no Uta. After the death of his father, Naoya Kusanagi is put underneath the care of his friend's family, and with the arrival of the new school term, Rin Misakura, Naoya's childhood friend who transferred away long ago, reappears right before him. As time moves forward, his innocent friends have all grown up, and Naoya will have to deal with the consequences and feelings of the people all around him, and how much influence he has as the son of a world-famous artist. Sakura no Uta is a work of art, and I'm not talking just about its story. The character sprites are attractive and lively, the music is quite enjoyable to listen to, the CGs are absolutely beautiful, and altogether, it makes for such an immersive experience for such a thought-provoking story about happiness, talent, and art itself. Sakura no Uta is credited among its readers for its beautiful prose, paired along with the author's intellect and ingenuity. The author, Skaji, loves to convey his immense knowledge and philosophy in literature, using them to further emphasize core aspects of Sakura no Uta. It's definitely worth another read-through, if only to fully reflect and really grasp certain lines and dialogue with proper context. Even more so if you apply it on a big picture perspective. It's a title that will make you stand back in awe from the wisdom Skaji conveys in his story. Additionally, Skaji is also one of the few authors that has another title in this ranking list, one of a completely different genre as well, which only further displays his writing ability. I will make an important note here. Sakura no Uta is one of the very few visual novels in this list without an English translation. However, as recommended by other readers, if there's one reason to learn Japanese, it's to experience this wonderful story and its amazing prose. Next up is a visual novel that is well worth the purchase for the 100 hours of gameplay length it took me to complete this game. For not only is this title a dystopian cyberpunk epic visual novel, but it's also a mech hack and slash beat 'em up video game. Ranking at number 12, Baldur's Sky. Our protagonist Ko Katakura wakes up in a cyber battlefield with no recollection of how he got there. He escapes the bloody cyberscape with his trusty partner Rain, and while he can't remember everything, he remembers his life mission: to catch those responsible for Grey Christmas, the catastrophic tragedy that destroyed his peaceful life and avenged the lives of his lost loved ones. Baldur's Sky has quite a lot to its cyberpunk world: immersive cyberspaces, mechanical biotechnology, autonomous AI, and even the futuristic political tensions surrounding these topics. But the most important aspect to its storytelling is how often it alternates between two time periods: the peaceful past and the dystopian present. With Ko losing his memories, the reader is in the same position as him. A lot of information and context context is missing, but as you continue playing through each route, the story builds on top of each other, having you slowly piece together the bigger picture and the full truth behind the catastrophe. It creates a great thrilling mystery to keep you engaged, and offers a lot of surprise revelations the deeper you go. And if the Cyberpunk story wasn't enough to interest you, Baldur's Sky's fast-paced action gameplay is super fun. With over 100 unique weapons to choose from, you're able to change up your gameplay to suit your playstyle. The more you chain combos together, the more you're able to upgrade your equipment to further increase your combat potential. And by the end, you'll be able to pull off some insane moves to handle large crowds or inflict massive damage. Baldur's Sky is a grand sci-fi epic that will reward you for your investment into it, both from a story and gameplay perspective. It's a visual novel that combines both the charm of a classic anime slice-of-life romance with a fully realized action-heavy cyberpunk premise. Well worth the purchase for the complete sci-fi visual novel JRPG package. Next up is a classic, unforgettable title where its story, to this day, has moved the hearts and shed the tears of many. Ranking at number 11, Clannad. The story follows the life of Tomoya Okazaki, a high school delinquent who has a difficult relationship with his father and has lost touch with his dreams for the future. While walking to school one day, he meets Nagisa Furukawa, a shy and introverted girl who has repeated her final year of high school due to her illness. Through their encounters, Tomoya discovers that Nagisa dreams of reviving the school's drama club, and he agrees to help her make it a reality, along with the help of a few other girls. If you have heard of the studio developer named Key, Clannad is their most famous title, and the crowning hallmark of their brand of storytelling. Emotionally charged stories that will absolutely make you cry. Let's take a look at some satisfied customers, shall we? I remembered why I cried in anime again. This game made a dead inside person like me cry, so that's a win in my book. How do you play Clannad without crying? You don't. Clannad starts at a slower pace with lots of lighthearted comedy, but once you begin to get to know these characters' conflicts and go through their individual arcs, the visual novel ramps up in gripping storytelling. Even with the small supernatural elements present, the writing and dialogue feels real and authentic. It's a powerful, heartfelt story about the importance of family, and Clannad tackles these topics in a very sensitive and compassionate way, especially in its final route, After Story. But I don't think Clannad would have hit so hard if it wasn't for the music. One of the most fascinating aspects is that the author, Jun Maeda, also helped compose the music for the visual novel as well. From the immersive, magical soundscapes to the dramatic yet beautiful melodies, Clannad's soundtrack elevates the story's emotional impact to another level. Legendary among the medium. Clannad stands as one of the most iconic key titles, and for good reason. Some might even call it life-changing. If you are interested in a fantastic romance drama, I highly recommend Clannad. Although, I should warn you, be prepared for a one-of-a-kind emotional experience. Next on the list is a visual novel that's a complex combination of both profound, inspiring philosophy and nauseating horror and dread. Ranking at number 10, Wonderful Everyday, Down the Rabbit Hole, or Subarashiki Hibi. One day, Yuki Minakami witnesses a stuffed toy falling through the air. She goes up to the rooftop to investigate and meets a mysterious girl named Zakuro, who dropped the toy to test its aerodynamics. Now, for what was a simple meeting was only the precursor to the next story to follow, as Yuki soon learns that Zakuro has killed herself. Rumors around her death spread all around. It continues to escalate until chaos fully erupts when one boy in Yuki's class proclaims that Zakuro's death was the first sign of the apocalypse, stating that the world will end on July 20th through the event, The End Sky. Wonderful Everyday is profound as it is gruesome. It features content so repulsive, full of disgusting and disturbing details that sitting through certain scenes feels torturous to sit through. And yet, it provides such a strange, unique, and surreal atmosphere. I don't think I've ever read anything that has such immense depth and philosophy paired with scenes of violence and cruelty. Written by Skaji, the author behind Sakura no Uta, number 13 on this list, Wonderful Everyday loves to make references to classic literature and philosophers. The Tractatus Logico Philosophicus by Ludwig Wittgenstein, Cyrano de Bergerac by Edmund Ronstan, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, Night on the Galactic Railroad by Kenji Miyazawa, The Call of Cthulhu by H.P. Lovecraft, and so much more. Of course, while you can spend lots of time examining these references and see how they fit into Wonderful Everyday's core elements, it's also equally fine to hop in for this psychological Denpa roller coaster ride. Because despite its terribly gritty, despair-inducing content, by the end, it manages to deliver something so unexpectedly uplifting, optimistic, and even life-affirming. For through countless struggles and suffering, they can achieve happiness. However, please take notice of this. If you do download the Steam version of the game, it is very important to download the 18+ patch to obtain the rest of the game. Don't be fooled by the first 2 hours, as the visual novel will be drastically different after finishing the prologue, hence the chapter name, Down the Rabbit Hole. I don't think you will be able to experience something like Wonderful every day, and if you think you can stomach the content, I highly encourage you to give it a go. And now, placing itself in this list as one of the most famous Ero-JRPGs in history, ranking at number 9, Rance X Showdown. Rance X Showdown is the 10th and final installment to the Rance series. The most powerful fiend, Cablus, seized power over the monster realm and led a colossal army against the human realm. With the number of human casualties rising, all appeared lost for humanity as they were unable to unite together. That is, until Rance returned. And with all of the world's leaders being Rance's women, they all decided to leave it up to him. The conceited womanizer Rance, humanity's supreme leader, versus the Dark Lord Cablus, ruler of all monster kind, faces off in the ultimate battle with their entire race on the line. Now, everyone knows Rance as that very questionable, self-serving fantasy protagonist, a shameless, arrogant man motivated by his desire to have sex. But for those who's witnessed his journey all throughout his games, they know the deeper truth behind the man named Rance. He truly breaks the mold in terms of your average fantasy RPG protagonist, and he's quite the interesting vehicle to explore his world. With a collection of over 200+ characters, both old and new, all of them in here feel distinct and memorable in their own way. The massive amount of world building established throughout the previous games really shines when you consider all of this. There's also the fact that Rance 10 is big. Lots of different endings, tons of gameplay challenges, plenty of CGs and character events to unlock. It's a game well worth playing through it multiple times to see everything this game has to offer. You might be initially turned off by the Rance series based on first impression. I mean, who wouldn't after seeing Rance? But it's a testament to its quality when anyone who's experienced the series, from all of its world building, character development, and the huge variety of genuinely good gameplay, will wholeheartedly recommend the Rance series despite who he is at first glance. Rance might be a piece of shit, but he's one that turns into one lovable piece of shit. And Rance X delivers a climactic conclusion to one grand adventure, one that will greatly satisfy anyone who's been on this journey with him. Next up on the list is a classic horror mystery visual novel known for its creeping sense of dread and paranoia, while also keeping you guessing at every turn. Ranking at number 8, Higurashi no Nakukora ni. Our protagonist Keiichi Maebara moves to the small town of Hinamizawa and quickly befriends a group of locals at his new school. However, he soon discovers that for the past few years, a series of gruesome murders and disappearances occur every year during the village's annual Wazanagashi festival. As Keiichi learns more about the events surrounding the festival and the village's local religious god, Oyashiro-sama, he finds himself involved in a series of conspiracies about the village's darkest secrets that threaten his life. Higurashi is a visual novel that starts out slow and comfortable. The first hour or so is full of wacky slice of life, showing a group of young kids enjoying life and playing typical schoolyard games. But as you keep reading about these mysterious deaths along with Keiichi, this peaceful rural town and its villagers start to appear more unsettling. That fear, that anxiety, that paranoia is a recurring emotion that gets explored through our main characters. Higurashi places you in the perspective of its lead characters and proceeds to detail their escalating psychological fears until they have no choice but to resort to extreme actions. How the author, Ryokishi07, conveys these insecure emotions is both suspenseful and sensational to read. The sound design is also fantastic at helping elevate Higurashi's ominous atmosphere and tense moments, even if some of the artwork is an acquired taste. Speaking of, I highly recommend downloading the 07th mod patch for Higurashi. Features include the PS3 character sprites and background art, 1080 graphic assets, and full voiceovers. That said, you're able to alternate between visual styles to whichever suits your preference, because there are some people that prefer the charm of the original style. Higurashi not only grabs you through its psychological horror aspects, but also through presenting a very intriguing mystery at the core of its story. The visual novel is presented in a narrative structure that consists of multiple story arcs and different perspectives, each one revealing new information and shedding light on the overarching mystery. It's a bit unorthodox in its story storytelling, but interesting and surprising when you consider the true narrative being told here. Now, while Higurashi is a graphic horror mystery, it's also a great display of the tragic consequences that occur from the breakdown of communication, and by the end, we'll explore ideas that go beyond its initial genre. If you're a fan of psychological horror mysteries, Higurashi is a top recommendation. Now, while all of these visual novels are quite renowned, this is one you have to read if you're looking for something outside of the anime visual aesthetic. Ranking at number 7, The House in Fata Morgana. You wake up in an old gothic mansion with no memories of who you are. You meet a mysterious maid and she takes you on a journey through the mansion's history. For many people have lived in the mansion before, and this maid has witnessed every resident that's lived here. She offers to take you door by door to see the unique stories of each of these past residents and the cursed tragedy that has befallen every single one of them. For in the hopes that because you witnessed their tragedies, you will be able to remember yourself. A big standout for The House in Fata Morgana is in its gothic aesthetic, both in its visual style and musical soundtrack. With its diverse score, watercolored backgrounds, and a realistic presentation of character artwork, it creates this melancholy atmosphere fitting for the visual novel, especially when you consider the darker content in each of these stories. You'll witness a collection of different stories, each spanning different time periods and cultures, from the Middle Ages to the Industrial Age, but all of them deal with the darkest aspects of human nature, to make you feel a wide range of emotions, hope, despair, and everything in between. And it's all thanks to how sharp the character writing is. Every individual in the House of Fata Morgana feels so incredibly human. It doesn't take long to understand each of the characters' motivations and perspectives, and as you read through their lives, you become engaged with them emotionally, even when they reach their lowest points. Now, not only does the story capture you through these genuine human tales of love and loss, but also through its seemingly minute mystery details, being clever and subtle, but hitting you where it hurts the most. The House in Fata Morgana is a visual novel I highly recommend for its phenomenal storytelling. My number one choice as well for a visual novel outside of the typical anime tropes and scenarios. And now, time to discuss a beloved visual novel, the final installment in its trilogy, for it's a fantastic conclusion to a heartfelt fantasy JRPG visual novel. Ranking at number 6, Utawaru Mono, Mask of Truth. Immediately taking place after the shocking cliffhanger of the second installment, Mask of Truth follows Haku, the laziest, most laid-back individual, as he's forced to carry a heavy burden, restoring a princess to the throne as the entire country hunts them down. He bears responsibility as her protector and commander of her army, not because he wanted to, but in order to fulfill his closest friend's wish. Now, Utawaru Mono isn't just a grand epic fantasy story with Japanese Ainu influences and people with animal ears, it's also a tactical turn-based JRPG as well. Through proper positioning and precise reaction events, you can inflict damage to enemies. With multiple offensive and healing options to choose from, there are a lot of different ways you can strategize. While it looks simple at first, it eases you into how complex the gameplay can be as you unlock more tactical options, like special finishers and tag team moves. It's a fun and easy system that contributes to the visual novel's narrative context, but where Utawaru Mono really shines is in its story. Utawaru Mono places a large emphasis on friends and family. Plenty of moments are dedicated to both hilarious and heartwarming slice-of-life events, and with Haku, whose core personality is trying everything he could do to live the easy life and get out of doing work, was met with misfortune every step of the way, and it made for an entertaining watch. It's these events that make you get attached to these lovable characters, before hitting you with the horrific consequences of war. Mask of Truth is where all the fun and games stop, and our characters are met with a dangerous adversary that's stopping them from restoring the kingdom to its rightful leader. With how much the stakes have risen, characters are forced to take on immense responsibilities, completely unprepared, even at such a young age. But it's how they overcome those difficulties with the help of friends and family that becomes so rewarding through its most powerful scenes. This series spends a long time having you get to know these characters and the world that they live in, but it's in this final installment that the story delivers such a fantastic payoff. Utawaru Mono Mask of Truth is truly a rewarding and satisfying fantasy story that I highly recommend. The next title on this list is a famous visual novel from the developers at Nitro Plus, for it tells a grand tale of a cruel journey, one not about heroes. Ranking at number 5, Full Metal Demon Muramasa. In a feudal Japan where an oppressive regime rules over the land, warriors known as Musha have engaged in battle with enchanted suits of armor known as Tsurugi. Minato Kageyaki, however, is one such Musha who dedicates his life to defeat these evil forces, but it comes at a drastic cost, for he wields the cursed Tsurugi Muramasa, where its mighty power requires the sacrifice of an innocent soul. This is the law of balance. He must abide by this curse in order to fulfill his duty, to destroy the greatest Tsurugi of them all, the Silver Star Ginseigo, a monstrosity of madness and power. Full Metal Demon Muramasa does a phenomenal job in telling Kageyaki's cruel journey. Each chapter gradually eases you in with its complex characters and the harsh world they live in. They all have their own unique personal philosophies that when clashed with other equally strong-willed characters becomes very interesting to watch. No matter who Kageyaki meets though, every choice he makes is painful, and the story makes his moral struggle fascinating and thought-provoking. There's no clear good or evil here, because someone's good is someone else's evil, and Full Metal Demon Muramasa explores these concepts while also leaving them up to personal interpretation. Moral dilemmas featuring Kageyaki and his metal spider companion aside, this visual novel does an outstanding job in its fight choreography. Whether it's the mech fight scenes in the air or sword duels on the ground, each engagement is so meticulously detailed down to the proper movement, to the individual's emotional state, to even its cultural context. It's extremely rare to find an author with such immense knowledge in the subject matter, and all of this fits because Full Metal Demon Muramasa is so heavily steeped in its dark feudal Japanese setting. Of course, Muramasa isn't for everyone, as there are elements that will test your tolerance, whether it's the plentiful Japanese influence or the long-winded fight scenes or the dark mature content. But for those who read it, will come out a more enriched individual by its thought-provoking ideas and subject matter. And now, time for the most famous murder mystery among all visual novels. One roller coaster of a story full of murder, mysteries, and magic. Brought to you by the same developers as Higurashi, ranking at number 4, Umineko no Nakukora ni. The story begins on the remote island of Rokenjima, where the wealthy Ushiromiya family has gathered for their annual family conference. The patriarch Kinzo Ushiromiya is near death, and his children and grandchildren all get together to decide how to split the inheritance. However, things take a dark turn when the typhoon traps the family members and their servants on the island, and a series of bizarre murders begin occurring. As they try to uncover the identity of the killer, they begin to realize that the murders are linked to a legend at the origins of the Ushiromiya family and its wealth, the legend of the Golden Witch Beatrice. Umineko first appears as this classic inheritance murder mystery, but by its end, it's so much more as it crosses multiple genres. Every single episode is packed with fantastical moments that'll make you rethink everything. Just when you think you've gotten the mystery all figured out, Umineko throws in surprises after surprises that'll complicate the mystery even further. Because compared to typical murder mysteries, Umineko complicates the nature of murder itself. Be prepared, as while these logic puzzles are intriguing as they are ridiculous, Umineko will force you to think outside of the box, given the strange objective you are given. It creates this intense battle of wits that not only challenges our main character battler directly, but also asks the reader to try to solve the mystery themselves, instead of simply watching along. Umineko is a tough mystery to solve, but it's also insanely interesting to watch. Every member of the Ushiromiya family has their own unique personalities and motivations for being on this island, all further complicated by how high class the Ushiromiya family is and the 10 tons of pure gold at stake in the inheritance. It's not just the adults. Other characters like the servants have their own intricate backstories and personal agendas as well. So when all of them become trapped on the island and death slowly awaits them, it's exciting to watch as their true values and natures come out, making these confrontations even more chaotic, thrilling, and emotionally cathartic. I would also like to make a special note of Umineko's notable achievement, its music. The author, Ryokishi07, likes to call his visual novels sound novels, and for good reason. How he directs certain music tracks and sound effects are greatly used to set the mood of haunting dread or establish tense scenes between battle-locked individuals. Here, Umineko's diverse soundtrack becomes more important than ever, featuring hard rock tracks, soothing piano pieces, to even hardcore trance dubstep. I would also highly recommend downloading the 07th mod patch, which includes new character sprites, new background art, 1080 resolution, and absolutely fantastic voice acting. It's an absolute requirement for the definitive Umineko experience. Umineko is a very long journey, being such an intimidating time sink, longer than the damn Bible of all things. But if you can weather through this long trip of a visual novel, you'll be presented with so many emotionally gratifying moments by its complex cast of characters. It's one hell of an ambitious story, but it's one you don't want to miss out on. Reigning at the top of this list as the best romance drama visual novel, ranking at number 3, White Album 2. Haruki Kitahara, a third-year high school member of the light music club, dreams of performing an original song on concert stage. With only 30 days left until the culture festival, he recruits 2 female members, Setsuna Ogino, the school's renowned idol, and Kasusa Toma, the standoffish piano prodigy. As the 3 work together to make the festival a success, their lives become more intertwined with one another, resulting in a vicious love triangle that will haunt them beyond their high school years. White Album 2 isn't your typical romanticized, fluffy anime rom-com story. It's a harsh, bittersweet, realistic look into human relationships with all the ugly baggage shown off on full display. A devastating, tragic romance between 3 friends who don't want to hurt each other. What makes this work is how well portrayed these characters are as very flawed individuals. After all, the emotion called love is a very fickle concept, able to even make the most sane person commit irrational and unexplainable actions. And that's just very real and familiar. You'll experience such wide range of emotions watching the characters commit absolutely ugly acts as you become disgusted in one moment and yet sympathetic in another. You can sense the envy, the jealousy, the loathing that these characters hold inside of them. The writing reflects this too in how the dialogue conveys not only direct spoken mannerisms, but the unspoken true thoughts shrouded behind every word. It's messy and toxic. White Album 2 is basically the ultimate soap opera in anime form. And yet, for as much as White Album 2 is steeped in negativity, it's those small glimmers of happiness that feel so emotionally satisfying. We're in this long-winded path full of lies spanning high school to university to adult life, seeing them overcome these hurdles is just so cathartic. White Album 2 is a romance masterpiece, one that shows you the full extent of the emotion called love, and it's one that will stick with you for a very long time. For this next one, it may have had its start as an anime slice-of-life dating visual novel, but its sequel is anything but an epic sci-fi action thriller full of passion, hype, and despair. Ranking at number 2, Muv-Luv Alternative. Muv-Luv Alternative is the continuation of Takeru Shirogane's journey after the events of the original Muv-Luv. This isn't a cutesy high school rom-com anymore. It's a tale of political conspiracies, an alien menace, quantum causality, and much, much more. And yes, before you ask, Muv-Luv Alternative does require reading extra and unlimited. Considering everything Muv-Luv builds up, Alternative dumps you into a viciously brutal world. It gets dark, becoming terribly uncomfortable as it plays with your emotions. You wouldn't expect this starting out, as Muv-Luv is about as stereotypical as you can get for a harem high school rom-com. And then it does the most radical 180-degree shift into one of the most hardcore science fiction stories ever made. If you love sci-fi, and especially mechs, you will be treated very nicely here. Everything from the realistic world setting to the top tier mech designs to the high octane action scenes, there's a lot to appreciate in Alternative's world building and production value here. Great for immersion, and also equally heart-wrenching. You spend a lot of time with these characters, and you get to see all of the light-hearted interactions towards one another. Yes, they do live in a very serious world, but there's still a semblance of the occasional tomfoolery, and before you know it, you're fully hooked on the ongoing conflict and the characters that live in this cruel world, fearing what might happen to them. It's like seeing your beloved family head out into the battlefield, unsure if they'll ever come back. But despite the terrifying risk, Takeru and the people around him continue to push forward and fight. It's a type of rousing story that's presented in a very brutal and emotional way, one that's justified in its epic scope. Credited among its readers, Muv-Luv Alternative will deliver a false sense of security, and then tear you down and genuinely hurt you. And this is a good thing, because Muv-Luv Alternative is one hell of an emotional roller coaster that will cement itself into your heart and never leave. Even to this day, Muv-Luv Alternative still stands as one of the most incredible stories its readers have ever experienced. And finally, the top rated visual novel of all time, ranking at number 1, Steins Gate. Following the self-proclaimed mad scientist Okabe Rintaro, he and his friends discover a method of time travel through sending messages through a modified microwave. However, their actions have severe consequences, as they've caught the attention of the group known as CERN, an organization who's been sent to retrieve the time machine through any means necessary. The effects of time travel is largely unpredictable. With a single action, one can change the past and present instantaneously. The consequences can range from acts of little importance to the most drastic of situations, which is why Steins Gate makes it so that each decision fills you with both uncertainty and nervousness, for in hopes that you did the right thing, turning the visual novel into one of the most captivating time-traveling stories out there. The beginning of Steins Gate sets the stage in establishing the rules of time travel. One of the highlights of the world of Steins Gate is how complex but well-defined the time-traveling system is. It's told in a way that's both engaging and actually plausible, mixing real-world science facts with its sci-fi fantasy theories, which leads us to Steins Gate's unique gameplay for story decisions. Instead of simple choice prompts, you use Okabe's cell phone to send text messages or make phone calls to Okabe's fellow friends. Okabe Rintaro is our lead character, but his crew is just as charming in their own right. The brilliant yet stubborn genius Kurisu, the silly yet earnest childhood friend Mayuri, the hacking extraordinaire and best bud Daru, and a few more. All of them offer tons of fun conversations, interactions that show more depth than what's on the surface, and getting to know them is what makes the game much more enjoyable, which only serves to make Okabe feel the weight of his actions when Steins Gate takes a darker turn for the worst. Everyone knows that one simple change could have large implications in the future, as you see those consequences firsthand. Okabe suffers through each torturous decision he makes, and the visual novel details the agony he holds inside as he's forced to make tough choices and endure through every single failure. We are offered many different ways the story can play out through the multitude of different endings. Most visual novels naturally do that, but in Steins Gate, Okabe's story is a countless struggle to overcome fate and achieve the perfect ending he desires. Steins Gate is an exceptional visual novel, a great combination of science fiction, comedy, romance, and drama, bringing you a story that's both thrilling and satisfying. If you like time traveling stories, this is an essential one you have to read. And if you're interested in visual novels in general, Steins Gate should be on your radar as one to definitely check out. And that was the list of the top 14 highest rated visual novels of all time. Let me know which ones you've read, how much you've enjoyed it, and which ones you plan to read next. If you want more recommendations, I recommend checking out these videos over here. I would also like to thank everyone on Patreon for helping support this channel for visual novel content. Consider subscribing or dropping a super thanks if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.